just in my head. It's only a number. It's just in my head.
One of the things I particularly like about 1MORE is that they're not a manufacturer who will just flood the market with release after release. Instead, they take their time, they're a bit more deliberate about it, and they, in the end, bring something to the market that might not be the first, but it offers you plenty over and above the standard offering out there. Today we're taking a look at the PistonBuds Pro Q30. They're a set of stem-based ANC TWS, which are packed with some really impressive features like in-ear detection, wind noise reduction, and spatial audio. The MSRP is $49.99, but you can pick these up currently for the reduced price of $39.99 at Amazon UK. As always, we'll be taking a look at their merits, including frequency response measurements and real-life call samples. The Q30 come in a small, well-presented, premium-feeling exterior cardboard enclosure that does take a little bit of patience to get open. On the back, they list practically every feature about these earbuds you can think of. It's really nice to see this level of transparency, and for reviewers like me, it is really useful as a point of reference. The instruction manual is in a lot of different languages. It's brief in each language and to the point, using diagrams to very good effect, showing you how to do things like certain button configurations, pairing, what the LEDs on the case mean, etc. There's also a small accessories box inside which holds your USB A to C charge cable, as well as a selection of spare tips. The charge case is quite tall and cylindrical, measuring 6 centimeters wide, 4 centimeters high, and a depth of 2.4 centimeters. It weighs just over 40 grams, so it is pretty portable, and its shape means that it is ideal for fitting in your trouser pocket when you're out and about. That portability does have the unintended consequence that it's a little bit fiddly to get the buds out of the case. Don't grasp at the top like I did there. Instead, pull them out by the cylindrical end and you should have no problems. It's finished predominantly in matte black plastic, but the 1MORE logo on the top of the lid is protected with a kind of glass table style design. There's a small LED in the front of the case. This is green when the battery is between 80 and 100%, amber from 80 to 20%, and at that point it will turn red. On the bottom of the case, you've got a reset pairing button and the USB-C charge socket. There's no wireless charging on this model, remember. And when it's plugged in, that LED stays on, giving you some guidance over how long is left in the charge cycle. I think I would have preferred the socket at the back so the case could stand up while it's charging, but this is a very minor quibble. You can also see how much charge is remaining in the case via the front screen of the 1MORE app. The case does support Hall switch mode though, which means that when you open it, it will start that connection process to your device rather than waiting until they're in your ears. So when you're using the buds for the first time, you can set them up leaving them in the case, install the 1MORE Music app, and it will give you a walkthrough product guide that's step by step, and it gives you some guidance on how to use the product even before you've taken them out of the case. The app doesn't need excessive permissions and you don't need to set it up with a username and registration. The design of the Q30 matches that of the case in matte black, with gold accents around the top and the logo screen printed on the side. They're a non-integrated stem-based TWS similar to the Moondrop Space Travel, although measuring a little bit shorter at just 29mm. This contrasts with integrated designs like the Apple AirPods Pro or the Soundpeats Air 4 Pro, for example, where the top of the stem curves round into the main body. Now, the benefits of a non-integrated design is that you can pinch the earbuds with your forefinger at the top and your thumb at the bottom and adjust them in your ears like so without accidentally triggering the touch controls. This is actually a bigger benefit than you'd think if you've used earbuds like the Soundpeats Air 4 Pro, for example, where they're more rounded at the top. Your fingers can very easily touch those touch controls, and before you know it, you're skipping through tracks and turning active noise cancellation off when you don't want to. The Q30 fits shallow in your ears, and to facilitate better stability, they're using larger oval nozzles. This is one similarity that it does share with the Apple AirPods Pro and also the Huawei FreeBuds Pro, although I found them much more stable than the Huawei I did have to size up and use the largest tip in the box. The stock tips are actually pretty good. They're softer and grippier than the ones that you get with the Huawei. That's definitely a good thing because third-party tips in proprietary size and shape nozzles are hard to come by. Once you've got the adjustment right, you have to kind of squeeze them a little bit to make sure that you're optimizing the seal and therefore the active noise cancellation. They're an extremely comfortable and really stable TWS that you can use over really long periods without getting any discomfort whatsoever. They're IPX5 water and sweat resistant, so they're absolutely fine for using in the gym. I tested them out with the resistance machines, with free weights and with cardio, and they stood up to the task well. The Q30 also have in-ear detection sensors, meaning that when you remove them from your ear, it will automatically pause your music, and when you put them back in, it will resume playing. 1MORE call this Smart Playback, and you can select it from the main screen of their app. It's set as auto pause and play by default, but you can change it to auto pause only or switch it off altogether. It's one of the better done in-ear detection implementations that I've experienced across so many different TWS. Usually this is something that I switch off, but on this model I left it on because it did enhance my experience. The touch controls are located at the top of the stem, and I did find them quite responsive. Double tap is play and pause. Holding down for a few seconds cycles through your ANC modes. The 1MORE app does allow some customization, although it's double tap and triple tap only. Single tap doesn't do anything, so the likelihood is you're going to have to forego either the ability to control volume or to cycle through your tracks. They do have capacitive touch controls though, so if you're wearing a hood or a beanie, it's not going to set off any accidental touches, which puts them ahead of the likes of the QCY-HT05 and the Moondrop Space Travel in this respect. Active noise cancellation on the Q30 is impressive as well. I put them to the test in a variety of different scenarios, different scenes and different weather conditions, and in almost each instance they stood up to the task really well. Testing them out on the daily commute, they perform particularly well, reducing traffic, road and engine noises substantially. Like most earbuds, they did struggle a little bit with wind noise, and if you get in the underground or a train, then it's not going to reduce those sounds altogether, but it has a pretty good go at negating it. Even in an indoor setting, the noise of mechanical keyboard clicks, which is another Achilles heel for ANC on budget buds, were handled pretty well as well. For strength alone, they beat most of their budget competitors like the Moondrop Space Travel, and even some of the higher price models like the Soundcore Space A40. You'd have to spend quite a bit more on something like the Soundcore Liberty 4 NC to only really see incremental improvements. As with many models, 1MORE have included their QuietMax adaptive active noise cancellation here. If you're sensitive to strong active noise cancellation, perhaps you only want to use it when the scene is particularly busy, then this could be a good option for you. It's selectable in the 1MORE Music app. You've also got two other settings. Mild, which you might use in a coffee shop, something like that, where you still want to retain some awareness of your surroundings, but just get rid of that low hum in the background. And the superbly implemented wind noise reduction, which does exactly as it sounds. I can't stress enough how impressive wind noise reduction is. It massively outperforms any of the budget buds where I've had this option. You can still sense some noise reduction of the environmental sounds going on around you, whilst that wind noise is negated altogether. Very, very impressive feature, well delivered. A transparency mode on this model isn't bad. Voices around you and voices even a little bit further away sound very natural. But when I listen closely, I could hear some white noise. Whilst this white noise isn't overlaid over voices, it's just kind of there in the background. Bear this in mind. Certainly not a problem for me, but it may be worthy of consideration for you. Now onto the audio and sound signature. The Q30 are a bassy, Harman-inspired TWS with a warm, engaging sound thanks to the combination of the 10mm DLC dynamic drivers and Luca Bignardi's tuning, that magic touch which is applied to each and every one of 1MORE's releases. When we look at the frequency response measurements, you can see how faithful 1MORE have been to that Harman target, with a mild V-shaped sound signature and lots of emphasis on that mid bass. The sub bass has loads of depth and a sizable amount of thump On big room house tracks like Oliver Heldens' Gecko, it sounds particularly impressive. Despite the extra fat left in, it doesn't sound particularly boxy or disattached. There's no distortion in the low frequencies either, probably down to that DLC driver. The mids are quite balanced, leaning towards Harman's neutral response with decent extension in the upper registers. Vocals, guitars and pianos articulate well with clarity and presence, giving you a balanced reproduction of instruments and voices. Male vocals are set back a little. Female vocals are a bit more forward, but they don't ever tend to sound shouty. The trebles also follow the Harman curve pretty well, giving you enough definition to your cymbals and your snares. The trebles aren't overemphasized. I definitely wouldn't say that these are fatiguing. Listen really closely and you can hear semblances of a metallic undertone, but really for a £40 set of headphones this is kind of to be expected, and I'm really just nitpicking here. Now remember, it's a single driver arrangement in a TWS, so you have to temper your expectations accordingly. You're not going to get supremely textured bass and sparkly trebles, but you are getting lots of energy, warmth and vibrance. This translates well to most music styles, giving you a very versatile audio experience, and this versatility extends further when you dive into the 1MORE Music app, where you're greeted by 12 very usable presets and a custom EQ. You access the presets and the custom EQs to sound options, and when you move into your presets you get a little waveform at the bottom which corresponds to how each of the presets is likely to adjust the sound. Bass reducer is a pretty good one. It gives you a 7 dB notch in the sub bass and around 3 dB in the mid bass, retaining some warmth but losing that subwoofer style sound that characterizes this set. This is a pretty good alternative if you're bass sensitive, with the added bonus of opening up the sound a bit. If you're feeling a bit braver, there is always the 10 band custom EQ, and you can save your own individual EQ presets as well. Once I've fine-tuned it and everything else, I will share my preferred custom EQ in my headfire review of this very product. The link is in the description. Now there's one other big audio feature which 1MORE have included here, and that's spatial audio. With many brands you have to have an optimized source really to take advantage of this, such as panoramic audio or movies. But with 1MORE you can still apply this to non-optimized sources, and you will certainly notice the difference. I tested it out with Yusuf Latif's Bishop School and I got a much more immersive experience. It removes a little bit of that overpowering bass, and it does certainly open up the soundstage. It's fixed spatial audio only, it doesn't support head tracking, but it is a welcome addition. So many times I've tried to use a spatial audio mode with different models of TWS and it has muddied the sound or reduced the coherence in some way, but I've got to a point where it's my standard operating procedure here with the Q30. I tend to have spatial audio on more than off, and I didn't expect that I would be saying that after this review. On to call quality, and this is how the Q30 sound when you've been able to reduce all of those ambient sounds around you in a quiet room. Say you're making an important call for an interview or presentation, something like that, then this is how they're going to sound. Next up, we're going to introduce some sounds into the scene in real life call samples in a busy indoor and a busy outdoor scene.
So we're testing this time the 1MORE Q30 in a busy indoor scene for full quality. I'm in the same busy coffee shop that you've seen on my previous videos, with some consistency. And this is how you call it to sound when you're looking into a busy environment, so coffee shop, school corridor, college corridor, busy office, something like that. And next up, we're testing the 1MORE Q30 in an outdoor scene that is commensurate with the daily commute. I've got a mixture of wind, rain, and the associated noises. From that, the noise of traffic as well coming by. I'm near a railway bridge, so you might get the sound of a train coming past in a second. This is how you can expect the Q30 and its environmental noise reduction to handle your calls when you're out and about on the daily commute.
Latency is also very good. I didn't even have to activate gaming mode in order to get that latency down on videos, for example, to get lip synchronization. But if you're doing some casual gaming, you probably will want to toggle gaming mode. To do so, open up the 1MORE Music app and the low latency mode is just below spatial audio on the main screen. Battery life on a lot of budget sets is often the Achilles heel, and whilst I did get around 7 hours with ANC switched off, that did drop to around 4.5 hours with ANC switched on, spatial audio switched on, in-ear detection switched on, and taking lots of calls. Whilst that isn't necessarily bad compared with a lot of their competition, it isn't necessarily good either, although to counterbalance that out, you do have the excellent quick charge feature, which enables you to have 2 hours worth of extra playtime from just 10 minutes juice. That and the total charge time for the buds in the case being just 1 hour means that you can very quickly replenish your battery. I think that will be satisfactory for the majority of users. And with the charge case, you get an additional 3 to 4 full charge cycles. The Q30 does also have multi-point connectivity. Tap on the 1MORE logo in the top right hand corner, access experimental features, and then toggle dual device connection. This will allow you to connect to 2 simultaneous devices, and that switch over happens very effectively and efficiently. So overall, I think 1MORE have done a very good job here of offering something which is a little bit of a step up from some of those $30 sets which I've recommended in the past, by including some impressive features like spatial audio, which works well, good ANC, and also good ANC modes such as the really effective wind noise reduction, multi-point connectivity, lots of customization of your controls and your sound, for example, good comfort, and an enjoyable, engaging Harman-inspired sound. It's not a marathon runner in the battery stakes, but that excellent quick charge feature is one of the many reasons that set it apart from some of those budget sets. What did you think of the 1MORE Q30? Do please leave your comments in the comments section below. Give the video a like if you found it useful, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, it's ReganCipher signing off.